Okay, I am going to get started so that we can get you out of here on time as well. Welcome to the webinar, 3 Steps to Getting Promoted in 2025 and Beyond. So hopefully I will give you some insights for those of you who are looking to get promoted on how that can actually happen, and it can. All right, a little bit about me. I'm Loretta Stagnito. I have just a little bit about my background. I spent 20 years doing marketing, public relations, investor relations in what I call the Web 1.0 era. I worked at Ogilvy and Mather, Activision, the Taligent, which was the Apple IBM joint venture, and then in the 1.0 world, introducing voice over internet and online photo sharing, things that we do today that seem so common. And then in 2004, I became an executive coach and created Loretta Stagnito Leadership. And in 2011, developed the I Know system, which my Assess, Act, Achieve methodology is part of it. I focus on building self-awareness, helping leaders manage their emotions, build high-performing teams. And over the past couple of years, I've also created a specialty in mental health and wellness, particularly in the workplace. And mostly I work to help leaders turn them into high performers that everybody wants to work for. That's a little bit about my background. What we're going to talk about today is really talk about what prevents that mid-level leader from being promoted. What are all the challenges that they go through and why can't they move to that next level to the C-suite? And then how we can address all of those challenges through coaching, the value of coaching, the ROI based on coaching, and then 3 steps that leaders can take to really help become more promotable, which includes really building their internal and external self-awareness and aligning their perceptions, the way they see themselves against how other people see them, particularly around 4 leadership drivers that are really important for that level of leadership. And then talking about 4 essential skills that every mid-level leader into the C-suite really needs to have in order to be effective. And then I'll talk about how the Assess, Act, Achieve 3-month program, actually, which I call an introduction to executive and peer coaching, helps to address some of these challenges. So that's what I'm going to cover today. I think the first thing for you all to think about, and if you can either put it in the chat or raise your hand and share a story, what we talk about, what really prevents leaders from being promoted. And when you think about your own career and your own experience, what are some of the reasons that you've had or have been told by others that have prevented you from being promoted or taking on additional leadership responsibilities? Or if you're a current leader, what are some of the challenges that you have in terms of helping your direct reports get promoted, or what are the things that they're facing? So, there you go. Don't fit the stereotype, right? So, what others, right? Well, in terms of things that you've been told, I can share my own experiences. Been told I was either too emotional, which I like to say because I'm passionate. But any other thoughts come to mind in terms of the things and the reasons why? Yeah, exactly. Limited opportunity. If you wait, stuck in the weeds, right? Yeah, you're way down there. You don't know how to rise to the next level. But when I ask you, you better make sure you know all the details, right? So lots of different things. I can remember when I was thinking about this particular question when I was working for the Apple IBM joint venture, and the VP of marketing had been fired, and I was working for the interim VP of marketing, who was the CFO, who basically told me I should learn to delegate better and prioritize better. And I didn't have the skills. I was looking to be promoted from a director to a senior director, and I said something very arrogant and snotty, and literally he got up and said, "This is over. This review is over. I won't speak to you any longer." And so I'm like, whew, wish I had the tools to know how to do that better. Yin and yes, too young, right? You don't have enough experience. So yeah, so lots of different reasons why, right? From all of our own careers as we've advanced, what we've been told all along the way. So this is what mid-level leaders here today. So when I talk about those mid-level leaders, I think of anybody between the C-suite all the way down to individual contributors, right? The leaders of that. And if you think about it, no matter what size organization, they are the lifeblood. They are the ones that are driving the organizational vision and the goals that have been sort of set down from on high. They're the ones that are supporting the large revenue targets. They're coming up with what are the outcomes and the strategies that are going to require cross-functional buy-in and execution. They're managing budgets, they're managing teams, they're managing stakeholders, they're managing customers, they're developing themselves, they're developing their own leaders. So this is what they have to deal with. And I know you deal with this at the VP level and the EVP level, but this is sort of the layers that are really the lifeblood. This is really where all of the execution really happens. And so why do those leaders not get promoted? Well, when you think about it, because of all those challenges and because of everything that they have to do in all of that, it leads to burnout, or they become disengaged, or they become less productive. And according to, let's see, where was the study in Gallup, actually talked to about 360 leaders, and they found of all of those mid-level leaders, only about 5% were satisfied with their jobs, and only 35% were actually engaged because they were burnt out. And largely the burnout was because I have too many priorities, I don't have enough resources, everything is urgent. And when they get time for promotion, they learn of expectations that they didn't know that they had. So there's just lack of clarity around that. And so when it comes time to promotion, this impacts the perception, because it's just not only your leader, but other people have to weigh in, and they all have different perceptions of your performance because of all of the challenges that you're dealing with, right? So this is what really prevents some of the challenges that's really hard to get promoted. So when you think about this level of leader, they really are the intermediary between the C-suite and the front line. So they have to know how to be effective communicators. They have to understand how to implement strategic decisions. They have to manage relationships at all levels, and they have to really balance competing priorities. But only 1 in 10 really have the skills to do all of this by the time they get to that level. And so they burn out, they quit, and what it causes for the organization is a leadership shortage at that key mid-level, and it results in problems with customers, because that's a leadership level that deals with customers, and then recruiting challenges because you can't hire anybody into that role because everybody burns out, no one wants to come into that role. So it's just a continuous cycle of burnout in terms of how do we fix it. So really, what does prevent promotion more, and creates that? McKinsey found that only 43% of all middle managers have high burnout. Why? Because they don't have enough leadership support, or they have too much pressure from trying to meet all of these management expectations. And then they're given too many teams to manage, especially with reorgs and not hiring enough. So just take on more teams. And so what happens is half of them, 51%, say, I'm just going to stay in my role and I'm not going to advance. They take on less responsibility because they want more flexibility and they want more freedom. So it creates, again, this shortage in this management level because there's too many demands. The leaders above take too long to make resolutions. It creates high turnover rates, creates the cycle of leadership shortage at that level. Dig in a little bit deeper, right? So when you are at that level, why is it hard to get promoted, to think about taking on advancements or other things? Well, first of all, there's unclear expectations. And how many of you on the call, recognize when you got to that performance review, they finally told you what was expected of you, and you had no idea. And there was no practices or conversations along the way before you got there to tell you what those were. Right? So you're sort of learning them and learning why you're not going to be promoted. Or again, to Zane's point earlier, right? There's no clear pathways, because you may get oh, yes, you're ready, but oh, there's been budget cuts, or there's hiring freezes, or there's a reorg, or I can't get that backfill. So when we can, then I'll promote you. But right now, sorry, just keep doing what you're doing. Right? So, or giving you more teams because of I can't do backfills or because of the reorg. So now you got more people to manage, and I'm not going to give you any help on in terms of how to adapt to those larger teams. In fact, another 2023 study found that today individuals have 50% more direct reports than they had 10 years ago, yet they have 15% less time to deal with them. So now you have more people, you have less time, you have more demands, and it keeps adding up, and you're not getting the leadership support that you need. And then, of course, there's that Peter principle that says, I'll rise you to a certain level, but when you get to that level, all of a sudden you can't get to that new level because you don't have the skills. But I haven't given you any of those skills. I've just kept, because you were good at this domain, I kept rising you up, but now you're stuck, and so careers stagnate. Those are all of the things that actually prevent promotion. So when we talk about what are all of the challenges that this level of leaders have to go through, there's the communication challenges. Make sure you effectively communicate, make sure you motivate your teams. Oh, make sure you know how to resolve those conflicts and manage your time well by delegating and prioritizing, and make sure you get great performance reviews and manage your performance of your teams. Make sure you develop your teams and develop your staff. And now you've got change, just go ahead and adapt to it, but make sure that we see you as confident and trustworthy and credible. And so keep that leadership, presence high. And you as the leader are trying to manage your mindset. I love my job. I hate my job. I love what I'm doing. I hate what I'm doing. And, you're happy, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're not. So you go through this emotional regulation, which you in turn are expected to manage on your own and not let anybody see. Right? So those are all the challenges that you're getting in this level of leadership that you have to learn to deal with. All right, is everybody following me? Yep, 20 years of more. Yes, Zane. No training, no time. Yep. So we have to really, even when I was in leadership, this is exactly what we went through. So yeah, these are the challenges, right? So hopefully everybody is tracking with me so far, and I'm going to talk to you about how actually I believe coaching can help address some of these challenges. When you look at where organizations are using leadership coaching, what they're spending money on to do leadership coaching, it's for improving skills, which we talked about. It's to keep employee engagement and keep that key talent, how to help develop self-awareness and effective communications at all levels. And I have an asterisk here because that's also the hardest skill to develop at all levels, is really those two key things. They're investing in leadership coaching to help manage change. They're investing in coaching to help grow strategic thinking as well. And according to studies, they are actually finding a good ROI for coaching. According to a 2009 study, 86% of companies who invested in coaching believe that they recouped their investment. Consulting Psychology Journal felt that, according to their studies, organizations find it helps build leadership skills. It's helping to attain goals and just overall wellness of the individual. And Chief Learning Officer, their study showed that of the 70% of organizations that offer it, 96% of those said they'd use it again. So from an ROI standpoint, those companies that can actually measure the business impact report that they have less overall challenges. And so when we talk about those customer challenges and the burnout challenges, if they use leadership coaching, if they can truly measure the impact, they find that those challenges are then again less of them. All right, one more thing, the business case for coaching. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Josh Bernson, who's a guru in the HR world. And in a 2023 study promoting the value of coaching, in particular online coaching, really hits the mark. We're all leaders in some way. And sometimes we need just someone to talk to about our personal challenges at work. And so that's what coaching is really all about. Not only being able to help you develop all those skills, but then being able to be that trusted advisor to help you learn how to deal with your personal challenges. He published a study in 2023 that said, based on the 16 billion leadership development market, online coaching is really ready to disrupt that market. And last year, the same year, Conference Board initiated, noted a best practice of when you combine online training to help grow skills and you add it with peer group coaching, and then you give real-time application via stress assignments. That's a best practice for online leadership development, particularly in this hybrid world that we're working in. So lots of cases to really support business leaders, and this level of leaders with business coaching. All right. Again, no questions. Everybody's tracking so far. I'm going to tell you how you can accelerate promotion by handling these 3 steps, and of course, how coaching can help you get here. But the first step is really understanding and knowing yourself, right? So again, we talked about how self-awareness, companies find this the hardest skill to build. It's really understanding your internal self-awareness and your external self-awareness, which really means how do others perceive you, and particularly how others perceive you around some key leadership drivers that are really important for this level of leadership. And then really knowing what I believe are 4 key leadership skills that are effective at this level to get to the C-suite, and also when you are in the C-suite. Let's talk about that. Knowing these 3 or these 3 steps really allow you to create the conditions to drive your own promotability, right? And it allows you to control your own advancement opportunities because you're taking the time to invest and do all these steps. Taking a step back, going slow to go fast, if you will. All right, so step 1, building internal, external self-awareness. I'll go quickly through that, right? It's really knowing why I engage or lead this way, knowing my values, my strengths, my behaviors, and then also recognizing what the impact of all of that is on others. So really being able to build that self-awareness, but also being able to combine it with external self-awareness, which says, how do others perceive me, particularly around those same things? Because when those are aligned, we are definitely more effective and we build stronger relationships. So really being able to build that internal and external self-awareness, and really knowing yourself at that level. And then sort of part B is really understanding how you behave under stress, knowing your stress triggers, because the stress triggers cause us to change our behaviors. And when we change our behaviors, we show up differently and we react differently. And then others react differently to us because they don't want to get that triggered leader. And so really recognizing this is really crucial to preventing the impact to both your relationships and your reputation. So really understanding how to manage your composure, because no one wants to follow or engage with a leader who's unaware or unable to control what they do or they say during times of high stress or crisis, right? So knowing yourself, knowing how others see you, and knowing how to manage your stress. Second part, we're going to dive a little deeper into knowing how others perceive you and how do you align around some key leadership drivers. So as a leader at this level, do you build a strong leadership bench, right? And so how do you perceive yourself? Do you believe you build a strong leadership bench? And then how others believe you, or how do others perceive you? So how do others believe that you as the leader know the strengths and developments for all of your direct reports, and you actively work to grow and to advance them, right? So what are the perceptions around that particular driver? And then do you actively develop individuals and teams? And so do individuals and do you assess yourself that you care about developing your staff, you know where the team is strong, you know where it needs to improve, and you actively work to try to create a high-performing team? The third one, do you engage in effective leadership behaviors? And so when you think of what that means, right? Critical behaviors like how do you deal with conflict? Are you transparent or do you have a hidden agenda? Do you manage your meetings well? Do you manage your commitments well and your deadlines? Do you listen well? Are you open to feedback? And then do you adapt to that feedback? So how well do you assess that you engage in effective behaviors, and how would others say, would those be aligned? And then finally, how well do you drive a positive and a high performing culture? So do you actively drive collaborative, productive culture so it creates a positive reputation to the point where others want to join your organization and they want to work for you? So that's the second step, is really knowing, how do you see yourself around these key drivers? How do other people see you? And then really working to build some improvement in some of those key areas, so that when it comes to promotion time, you understand, why, or you've been working on the things that are really necessary to get to that next level. So when you think about all of those challenges, that we've talked about in terms of this level of leadership has, and when they move to the next level as well, having the same things, what are some essential leadership skills that they're going to actually need to learn? And for one thing, learn how to move from managing to leading, right? That conversation about, are you in the weeds? And we may think we're managing, but really at this level, we have to understand, are we really leading? And can we lead through strategic questions? So are we really using questions to sort of understand how to lead and not be in the weeds and managing at different levels? And then, do we know how to give and receive feedback? And when you think about learning that, and when you think about all of those challenges, all those things are going to, help it all kinds of, when you're developing your staff, when you're doing performance management, when you're trying to um, uh, resolve conflict. So really understand how to give feedback, and then really master difficult conversations. Again, all along the way, being looked at as a confident, trustworthy, credible leader. It's because you know how to have difficult conversations. And finally, can you manage your own capacity and your own commitments? How do you manage that overwhelm? How do you learn how to really delegate and prioritize, and understand what are the high values, and what things are not as key, and to get done? So key leadership skills that are really important, and for getting to the C-suite and then actually being in the C-suite. All right. Phew. Okay, so that was a lot. So now what I'm going to do is say, first of all, here's the challenges. Here's the 3 things that you need to do that. And here's how coaching can help you. And what I just explained is really my world. This is what I've been doing for as many years as I've been coaching, working with leaders at all levels on all of those challenges with all of these tools. And, it's the same thing for years. It's teaching the skills, the organizations, the leaders in order to do this. I have a passion about this, and I also believe that this is the key level that is also hungry for this sort of support, because we put a lot of investment at the higher level leaders and not so much into these unsung heroes, which is why I actually created this online peer coaching program. And what it is, I like to call it an introduction to executive and peer coaching, because it's accelerated and it's still high touch, but it's not as long and as in-depth and as time intensive as it is if you were to do a 6 months or a year executive coaching program. So through this program, it's 3 months, 12 weeks, about 7 to 8 hours a month, about 2 to 4 hours of online self-paced training. You get 3 one-on-one individual sessions with an executive coach, and 4 2-hour peer group sessions over the 2 weeks. And it's during those peer group sessions where we talk about building those essential leadership skills. We talk about managing stress. So the peer group sessions are structured, and you're having conversations about those particular things in it. It's the same transformational leadership outcomes that you get from regular leadership coaching, less than half of the engagement time and less than half the fees, because in these days, companies, individuals don't have either. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and Barb's going to take over as I narrate for you. Sorry. Yes, Zane, thank you for staying. I will talk to you later on. All right, so for those of you who are still on the line, I want to show you 2 of my of the programs now, and actually show you how to navigate first the course, and then we're going to spend some time on the 360 tool as well. So this is based on a program called Kajabi. And this is what the dashboard looks like when you first enter the dashboard. So you'll see it's really easy and to navigate. On the right-hand side, my right-hand side is you can see all of the 32 lessons, how many you've completed, and then on the left-hand side is actually where you click on to get to the lesson. So we're going to start and click on the pre-work here. And to show you what you'll see when you click on that, this is the very first kickoff session that people will go to before they start the 3-month self-paced lessons. This is where you meet your cohort. This is where we talk about what you'll learn through the program. And as you can see, as you scroll down, everything tells you what the action is, what you're going to need to do before that session. So what you need to do, what you can expect, so you can do some preparation. And then you can also have an optional read. So there's definitely an optional activity. What I noticed when I first created this program, and we had it only 2 months and I beta tested it, there were those, just like coaching, that put, everything into it. What you put into it is what you get out of it. So there are those individuals who want all kinds of things, want to read everything, and there are those who say, what do I need to do just to get through tomorrow? So I went back and I made the lessons mandatory in order to get through, and then a lot of optional lessons as well to help accommodate that. So that's how actually the lessons look like when you go back to the navigation. And so then you move down to your first month, right? How you perceive yourself. So this is where we start to focus on self-awareness. There's a lot of survey tools and intake as part of the normal coaching process. And then here you'll start to take the Lumina self-assessment. I use Lumina for years. The reason I love this self-assessment, it helps you understand who you are yourself when you get your everyday self, when you get overwhelmed and stressed, and when the behaviors actually change. And they have a lot of online dashboard and tools you can use as well. So you'll start by taking the assessment, you'll be able to review your own results, and then you'll prepare for your first one-on-one session with your coach. And what you'll do for that is you'll take a survey for the reflection questions. And so it'll ask you, the survey questions ask you, what did you learn? What did you see? So you're all ready when you move to that first session with your coach to be able to talk about what areas of self-development, and the Lumina Spark also gives you those development ideas as well. And the online tools that you use from them gives you more online ideas for development. So you're really prepared to have that first session with your coach. Then if you go back to the nav board, so after your first session with your coach, then you'll also notice there's a journals as optional. So you can get your reflections with your coach. And so you always have a dashboard. You're always able to keep your notes all in one place, again, if you choose to use it. And then you'll prepare during this first month for our second group session, where we'll start to really understand how do we manage our stress triggers and start to get the introduction into the self-aware leader, which is the 360 tool. And then after every group session, you'll have optional tools and resources to go back to do some additional reading, to do some additional recap. The recording of the session is in there as well. So again, you can use as much of this or not as you want to get engaged. Then we move to the second month. And that's when I'll show you the self-aware leader in a second, but that's when we start to really not start to say, how do other people see me? So you'll take the self-assessment yourself through the self-aware leader, and then you'll ask others to take the assessment. And that's what you spend most of the second month on. And then you'll have, before your second group coach or your second one-on-one coaching session, you'll be able to, again, go track your reflections from the feedback that you got, and asked you, what did you learn? What surprised you? So when you have your second one-on-one meeting with your coach, you'll have all of this information and ready and prepared to be able to talk about both of those. And then we'll start to move into how to create your development plan. creating your IDP. There's a video to help you do it. There's templates to help you create your IDP. And then you have an opportunity to share that with your accountability partner from your group. And then in month 3 is when we really move to the peer group coaching sessions. The first one being able to manage your time and capacity. The second one being able to deal with difficult conversations. And again, there's surveys and follow-up to really help manage your progress all along the way. And then you can journal your reflections about that. And then finally, you prepare for your third group session or your third one-on-one session with your leader, with your coach. What I want to check out on this one or show you in particular with this one, wait, Barb, when you just go back to the preparing for your session with your coach, what we've done in this one, if you move all the way down under the optional, is really given you tools to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with your leader about your IDP. So it gives you a guide for how you can have the conversation. You send the manager guide for how they can have the conversation. So it walks you through with tools that you can actually use to talk about what you aspire to and how you're going to get there. So I wanted to point that out because that closes the loop on being able to have the conversation with your leader in that. All right. Now I want to show you, providing no one has any questions on any of that. And we'll have some time at the end on that. So let's move to the Self-Aware Leader 360 tool. So this is the second tool that people will use when they go to get their 360 feedback. So this is the landing page. When you get to the culture platform where the Self-Aware Leader tool lives, you'll put in your name and your email address, and then you'll get to this landing page, which is actually the dashboard here. So when you look at the overview, so this is Olivia's, and Olivia has actually gone online and taken the self-survey herself, and she's assessed herself against those 4 leadership drivers that we've actually talked about. And what you'll notice on the yellow one on her score on hers is anything that's 50% and lower. What this is telling Olivia that she's assessed herself is that she needs to spend more time driving a high-performing culture. So you always have a real-time dashboard. You'll always be able to see where you stand. You'll be able to see the breakdown. I'll talk about the sentiment in a second. But if you click on the 360 results at the top, then you'll also be able to get, there you go, a 360 view in real time, depending on how many people that you've asked in terms of how you assess yourself versus how others have assessed you and where they see you. So, and obviously you can see that Olivia has a little different perspective of herself than some of the people that she's asked to assess her. But this gives you that actual real time, and you'll be able to know how many surveys were completed. And then if you click on the survey links, this will show you how to be able to send it out. So you just copy the survey for others and you send it in an email. And then, Barb, if you click on take the self-assessment, super easy to take the self-assessment. It's very quick. There's about 18 questions. This one is your own. So this says, I advocate for my direct reports, but the one that you as a participant will say, the person I am assessing advocates for their direct reports. And they'll quickly go ahead and answer all 18 questions. And then what they will also do at the throughout the survey is have a chance to put some feedback, some comments as well, because again, the qualitative and the quantitative is really key. So they'll go ahead and put in their comments. And then if you go back to the overview here, and what I'll do is click on the guideposts. So the guideposts here are, again, describe what the drivers are, so you can see how you can see yourself. If you click on the 360 results, it continuously shows how others are assessing you. Also, if you click on alphabetical at the top, what that actually shows you is you can show what's high to low. And so it ranks them on how well you're doing. So that's really, if you need a reminder of what the guideposts and what people are actually asking to assess you against. And then when you click on verbatims, this is the fun key one here. So this is where we incorporate AI, and the verbatim page is communicating a couple different things. So when people actually put in their comments, what the AI tool does is it rewrites it. Because for those of you who've ever had a 360 or you've, administered 360s, you know that people can't help but say, oh, I wonder who said that. Or based on the conversation, I think so-and-so said that. So the snippets actually change the verbiage so that you get the gist of what they're trying to say, but you can't really tell who said it. And then the topics give you sort of this assessment in what you need to do better. So it allows you to do, show you that. And then the sentiments by topic is really interesting because it gives you what the, so in this case of the 15 people that took it, 7 of those sentiments were in the negative category. So it also gives you a little bit of interpretation of the data as well. And in the next iteration of this, we're also going to be able to add some development suggestions based on the topic, that sort of thing. So let's see, we'll go back to, so that's the self-aware leader. I actually wanted to show you this and spend some time in it because everyone will get a link to be able to use that. You'll get a free tool for that, or a free subscription to that to use. So I'd love you to play with it and give your feedback on that. All right, so I'm going to go back really quickly to share my screen, and then we'll go to, and then we'll go to some questions and answers. So just really quickly, a map here where we start with, the kickoff where you get to learn the sessions through and get to meet your group. And we talk about leading right away. Month 1 is your self-assessment, your through Lumina, and your one-on-one and your second group group coaching session. Month 2 is will you do your self-aware leader assessment and then meet with your coach and start to write your IDP. And then in month 3, we'll really work on our IDP and really hone that time together with your peers and actually go through a lot of the leadership skills that you need to build. And then you'll also be able to measure your growth, to prepare to give us some feedback on the program, and you have the option of having 3 more additional months of executive coaching. It's a different sort of second phase of the program because we spent 3 months sort of giving you all the tools and talking about it. This gives you the opportunity to spend 3 more months with that coach, really helping you embody them, learn them, engage in them, and work your development plan. So what do the participant get after the program? Better understanding of what motivates them, better understanding of how to engage their natural strengths and what triggers them and where their behaviors change, how to influence better and how to connect with styles that are similar and different to them, more confidence in their leadership, better relationships, really understanding how important it is to develop yourself and develop others. So you become to lead more authentically, and lead through ambiguity, and you start to have relationships with like-minded professionals who become your trusted advisors. So benefits all the way along, and being able to address all of those challenges. All right, so from a program, everybody wants to know what's the cost, what does it cost to do all of this? Ideally, it would be amazing to bring this into an organization. We beta tested it within an organization where, you have your operations and your communications and your marketing and all of your different functional leaders working together, getting to know each other and working through the same program together. 6 or 8 cohorts of those, of that level of leaders. Launch price, $2,900 per person. If we bring the groups, there could be potential discounts because the leaders are sponsoring a particular group. You'll get access to all of your content, to Lumina Learning and all of your journals. And then you'll be able to use the self-assessment as well to keep measuring, right? So you can keep measuring over 3 months in terms of how well you've been making progress. And then you can have the option for 3 months additional for an additional $2,900. So 6-month program, about $6,000 is what we're launching it as, because what we really want to do is make it affordable. People have the budgets to be able to do this. It allows a lot of capacity for the coach to be able to work with the groups, and leaders can spend enough time in it, but not be overwhelmed by traditional programs. All right. What satisfied participants are saying, just a little bit of an endorsement. Safe place, when they really got into it, didn't recognize others had the same problems or the same challenges they did. Love the virtual format, love the connections that they made, and recognize that people are going through similar things. So, all right. Boy, oh boy, I'm a minute, a minute. This is really good. So, anybody who's still on the line have any questions, comments, anything that they want to add, ask? I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Enan, any quick thoughts when you see the tools?
Oh, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I just wonder, because I also realized there's a chat and said that you will send out the link to use that in a couple days. How about the presentation, the deck you're sharing, the slides you're sharing, will you also share with us?
Yeah, you'll get the recording. You get the whole recording, right? So you'll see all the slides, and then you'll get be able to use the self-aware leader and play with that. So I'd love your feedback on that as well.
Okay, and also, so if we use that, we play with that, how to better cooperate with you,
How to do what?
how to like better work with you.
Well, I will know. I'll get your emails. I'll know that you're using it, etc. Right? So when you try it out, give me your feedback in terms of, did you find this useful, whatever. And then, the reason why I wanted to show it is because not only is it part of the course, but this can be sold individually. So, people can just use the tool and can use it. It can accommodate a lot of folks as well. So there's 2 opportunities to use that, both the program and the digital tool.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for this sharing. Yeah, very resonant with this tool and so amazing. Really impressive. So I may have 2 questions. One, I really love the very rich content this tool can provide to the audiences. And also, I think I wonder, how would you balance, it's very structured content. So how would you balance the structure and the flexibility, because this is a coaching journey and different leaders, different audiences, they have very unique development needs. So how to balance the structure versus the flexibility? Yeah, that's my first question.
Yeah, so if you recognize it, it's really a traditional coaching methodology in terms of getting assessments, getting the feedback, and then working with the coach to create that development plan. So during those one-on-one sessions, and also this is coach agnostic, right? So it's written in such a way, it's developed in such a way that anybody can deliver the coach. So when that individual shows up to you for that first coaching session, that's between you and the individual in terms of how would you coach them depending on what they learned from all of their assessments, right? You would help them write their development plan, etc. When you get to the group sessions, right, those are 2 hours in length. And so we're not the only thing we're doing during that session is just teaching about those, right? So there'll be a presentation, there'll be a conversation about that. But during those 2 hours, you also break them into groups, give them time to talk to each other. You may start out in the group session on what challenges are you going through, just like regular things. But we would structure part of it to make sure that they leave getting the tools for difficult conversations or whatever it is. And then they can go back to the course and have the follow-up tools and those sorts of things. So it also allows for the flexibility of the coach to be able to deliver in their own style, to create the conversations that they want, right? That sort of thing.
So if my understanding is right, it sounds like both take, the benefit of living coach, and also the tools can, compromise with each other.
Exactly. Because
I
if
see.
you think about it, if you are having a conversation about, someone having to have a difficult conversation, you're going to have that conversation because it might come up in your coaching conversation in general. And then you'll be able to say, great, this is what you do. Oh, I have a tool that will help you. So I
Mhm.
always end up sending tools and things like that. So what this is saying is
I see.
proactively giving you things that, because I know you're going to need to have difficult conversations as part of your leadership, that sort of thing.
Mm, makes sense. Makes sense. That's great. I understand the idea.
Yeah.
So my second question is about, I wonder how, because this is a digital coaching tool, so how to ensure the self-paced learning remains very engaging and very effective without, the accountability of the life coach, because with a life coach, the big part of the coach is to take accountability for that client. So
Right.
how to manage that?
Yeah, so
with-
remember, you're only dealing 3 months, right? So you're dealing with them for 3 months, and during those months, you're meeting with them 3 times. And
Mhm.
so you are doing the accountability with them at that point,
Yeah.
right? And again, the platform allows for community and one-on-one, and you're always emailing. So it's the same engagement you would have, but it's only during those 3 months. Then if they sign up for the second 3 months, that's when you have the opportunity to really say, okay, here's the tools. Now I know what your development plan is. And that's a little bit more of the flexibility there. But that's why I'm really calling it an introduction, and you just start there and then you can move as much as you want. But I'm showing you what the coaching methodology is all about. Normally we do that over 6 months to a year, right?
Mm, mm. So the audience, the clients can still choose their own pace. There is some flexibility about their pace, but also accountability from the life coach within the 3 months, like for each one-on-one conversations.
When you think about the pace, because it's a cohort group,
Okay.
right? We're going to schedule those all in advance because you want all 6 or 8 people to show up at that in advance, right? So that they have to commit to. The one-on-ones can be flexible, right? Because that's a schedule between you and your coach.
Yeah.
So just as long as, everybody can sign up at once, that's why I think it works for an organization. Everybody signs up to come to the same cohort. And if someone misses it, they get the recording and they can do that. But at least 6 or 8 people are going to be there. And again, you get people to commit what they put in, they get out of it. So just like people don't show up for coaching sessions or whatever, you work with them to manage that. The other thing that's really, I think, is really important, and then I'll let you run. I know people are dropping off. I see that this level is so hungry for this kind of interaction with a coach that when I did the beta, I did it during during the worst time of the month. It was October to December. It was the end of year, and they showed up for every coaching session and every group coaching session because they wanted that. They needed that. So that's what I see at this level. So if they're committed, they're going to make it happen. And if they're not, but we experience that with coaching in general, right? That's the way it works. So
I see. Yeah, totally. Thank you. Thank you for
yes. So Cindy, I'm happy to have a separate session with you and Yinan and the ALC. And I wanted you guys to be here to be part of the webinar, but I'd love to, keep the conversation going and see what we can do there as well. So
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yinan, anything else on your end?
Oh, yes, Rita, I would just suggest, since this webinar, I'm not sure it's targeted to coach or just in general. And if it's targeted to coach, it might be helpful for like how coach can work with this tool.
Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
have some slide. It will be just very clear. Then if it's just a target to general public, then how you use it, right?
Right. Yeah. So what I want to do is be able to showcase the course and look for
Mhm.
either someone who might want to participate in the course and go to their organization and ask to bring it into their organization, or being a functional leader who says, whoa, I'm going to bring this to my other VPs and see if we can sponsor this within our organization. That's ideal. I also think there's an opportunity to work with the other coaches and say, that's a different conversation. Let's hear the tool. How do you guys want to use it for your practice and what can we do? Right. So yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so in my dreams, it would be really nice to have this certified and have other coaches be able to use it as well. And when I
Yeah.
was building it, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Your dream will be achieved.
Especially with you, with you helping out. I know that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Cindy, thank you as well. Yes, thank you. I'll let everybody go. Thank you for staying the extra few minutes, and we'll be in touch and everybody will get a copy of this. Thank you, team, for helping navigate. That was awesome. All right, see you later.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.